Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9 Live. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Jim. We have Tyler. What's up, everybody?
What's going on? Happy Thursday evening. This is our last NS9 Live of the regular season.
It's our last Thursday show for a little while, isn't it?
Last Thursday show for a bit.
Till next season, basically, right?
Yeah. Off seasons, we'll switch NS9 Lives to Wednesdays, just so you're not having to pick between, obviously watching us or watching the worst NFL game that week.
Well, I mean, what happened was the NFL sent us a cease and desist. They hated us attacking their ratings. So we played fair. We played nice with Roger Goodell. So we had to be moved to Wednesdays.
Yep. That's what it was.
That's exactly what happened.
Unfortunately, but hey, we're good guys.
But hey, I've enjoyed the year with you guys. I've enjoyed all the viewers that have tuned in throughout the post-game shows, throughout all this. Like, it's been a fun year. All things considered, like, we've had a good year. Like, I got Permane Brothers gift cards still hanging around. Like, we had a good year, boys.
We did. It was a good year. Granted, like not for the Pirates. The Pirates, it wasn't a good year, but I felt like for us, like it was a good year.
Yeah, I think the Pirates beat us to a pulp. I think we're all kind of ready for the season to be over,
but also excited for the next step.
Look,
I'm
Peter.
excited
Peter
for the offseason.
Peter got his sandwiches today.
Oh, congrats, Peter. Cap and cola with cheese and an egg time with the tomato.
Psychopath.
But anyways, this is our very last NS9 Live during the regular season. A little bit of bittersweetness to it. We'll talk. There's still 3 more games left, so we'll have more to talk about later and stuff. But we have a lot to talk about today. Before we do, of course, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to be bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on the $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website to get on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. So, Chicos, as Bucko Mike says. What do you want to talk about today?
We've talked about a lot of stuff. Obviously the Rowdy Tellez situation. We've got our resident king of the payroll and spreadsheets, Ethan Hullihen. He's going to be joining us here momentarily to kind of drop some knowledge on us. Let us know, how common this is, maybe, or how uncommon this is, or why is it that if it is common, why is it the Pirates are getting all this attention and no one else does? So we'll have that. And yeah, I think it's a good time to just talk about the Oakland A's in general and kind of their whole saga. That was a pretty emotional day in Oakland today. I don't know if any of you guys were watching it or saw highlights of it, but yeah, it was kind of it was hard to watch.
I saw a lot of stuff from Dallas. I'll put it that way. I didn't get to watch any of the game, but I've been watching Dallas for the past few days, and vicariously through him, I'm sad.
Yeah. But on top of that, Andrew Destin, Post-Gazette Beat Writer for the Pirates, he was actually in Oakland today. He's a Bay Area native, grew up a fan of the Oakland A's. He flew to Oakland for today's game. He's catching a red eye back to New York tonight so he can be at Yankee Stadium tomorrow for the Pirates-Yankees series. So he's going to join us before hopping on his plane to kind of just talk about that whole situation. And I don't know, maybe some parallels or not so parallel situations with the Pirates too. Yeah, so a lot of good stuff.
Definitely a lot. So, do we want to start and bring on Ethan?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So here's probably the most famous person in the baseball world for the past 48 hours. Ethan Hullihen, welcome to NS9LIVE. I'm thankful you're, able to attend.
Thank you. I guess that just depends on who you talk to and what story they may have ended up reading.
Yeah, I mean, you this rowdy situation. So I mean, it when it was first tweeted out, that Rowdy was DFA'd. My initial thoughts were, yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense from a baseball move standpoint. There's no reason to keep him here this last week. So yeah, like give him an early vacation, pay him the rest of his salary for the rest of the year, and move on and give some other guys a shot. And then I think it was James Santelli found your tweet from December where you reported Rowdy's incentives. And the first one that was on there was 425 plate appearances. Rowdy gets a $200,000 bonus. Well, he had 421 plate appearances. So this just set off an incredible domino effect throughout not only Pirates Twitter, but like baseball Twitter as a whole. I mean, it didn't take too much. It didn't take too long before national outlets got a hold of this thing. I got push notifications to my phone from ESPN. Like literally everyone started talking about this, and it's all because of you. How about that?
It is really weird. You don't put something out in December and think this is going to become a national story 9 months later. And James tweeted that before I even realized what happened. I've been tracking it the last couple of days. There are a couple of people, who are reaching close. So if people have probably seen that. And then when it hit, well, that was the first thing I thought, okay, I got to go check. I had the wrong number for a second. I had two different sources that said two different things. Get ready, put your helmets on for the name drop. Jeff Passan told me that the agent website had the wrong thing. So that's it. That was what the disconnect was. They had 475 or 450 and not 425. So that was the confusion. So I deleted the tweet. I put a new one up. And before I even realized it, that's when I saw James had done that. So I had no idea. It wasn't whenever I corrected it and went with 4, I had a tweet that has like 3 replies and a couple of likes. James gets, that's when it happened. And then today I'm listening to the roundup on The Athletic, Effectively Wild, David Sampson. They're all talking about it. It's surreal. It's crazy. And it's just, honestly, I'm a little uncomfortable with it too. To get that much
you're
shine.
such an outgoing, you're such an outgoing person, right? Like you gotta love this attention, right?
Ethan's literally living the meme, how to handle fame.
And then, I don't want to talk too much about it. It blew up more than it needed to. One person who just happened to kind of rip it and just, it went more than what I want to even, it wasn't that big of a deal. It just, when it got ESPN is when it just made me sad.
Yeah.
You see your work on TV and it's like, that's my work, but no one knows it. So I'm really happy with how that turned out, but let's not talk about that.
No, we're going to talk about that, Ethan, because who do I have to bury?
You wanted to talk for 10 minutes. You got Andrew waiting.
So
give me the list of people I have to bury.
So one thing I do want to ask is we obviously are very familiar with the work that you do. If you're on Pirates Twitter, you're probably familiar with Ethan's work. But I guess for people who are maybe watching or listening who aren't familiar with your work, what do you do? Why do you do it? And just kind of explain your process, because there's no one that I know of in the baseball community that gets as detailed with contracts as you do.
Are you sure we only have 10 minutes?
Yeah, let's keep it quick. But
I love numbers, and I've been interested in this for as long as I can remember. I started it in 2018 doing more detailed. I've learned more since then. Going back and looking at my work, it's surprising how bad it is. And as I've gotten better, I've met people, I've gotten sources, I've had people help me with things that I'm so much better at it today. There's just really weird things that I know that you probably shouldn't know. And I can apply it. And through some of those sources, I've been able to glean some things that people don't know. Like, for example, plate appearance incentives for Rowdy Tellez. And I just am able to, for the last however many years, I've been tracking Pirates, literal day in and day out. Okay, this person's called up, this is down, they're designated, they're traded, and how that impacts the payroll. Because a lot of people don't realize that numbers change, they're fluid. You know, everyone sees what Cots has out for opening day and like, well, that's what it is. But it's a living, breathing entity. And that's what makes me different. You know, there's a lot of great, you know, John Becker does great stuff at Fangraphs, but it's a lot more static. You know, what I try and do is dynamic and utilize those changes. And it takes information, again, that people, you know, I have to find some of it. There's a lot of different sources you can glean one thing from. Some of it's insider. And I've had, like I said, a lot of people can help me explain and apply some of that knowledge to it. So, and then at the end of the year, I spit out a number and hope it's as close to the December report as I'll drop last I checked, I was like $60,000 off what probably should be reported in December. So I'm pretty close. I get pretty close.
Yeah.
I don't want to pat myself on the back, hurt my hand too hard or my arm too hard, but I'm pretty good at it.
No, you definitely are. And I think the biggest resource that, I mean, you've been a huge resource, not only for me, but like for other fans. I mean, just
sure.
every day you're putting something out there where I didn't know. Like, I didn't know Liover Peguero was getting a 4th option next year, was going to be eligible for that until you said it, right? And then we were able to kind of discuss that a little bit. So yeah, when it comes to rules, when it comes to roster decisions, when it comes to CBA, things like that, like in payroll, there's no better resource out there. And it's pretty cool that we've got one that's so close to home. You know,
well, you guys have always really supported my work. I do appreciate that. I want to say that.
It's good work. It's good work. So,
and we also appreciate when we don't look at your work and get corrected.
That happens too.
I love when Ethan's like, "You guys didn't see what I text yesterday." Nope, definitely missed that. But
I
no,
hope that comes
awesome
off.
stuff.
I hope that comes off as polite as it's meant to.
It does.
Intended.
We know you. I love it.
So let's get to this Rowdy.
Oh, go ahead. You're good.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, let's just get to the Rowdy situation here. DFA'd with 4 plate appearances left. Pirates saved $200,000 by doing that. But I thought it was interesting. You, I guess let's talk about, first off, is this an uncommon thing? Is this a common thing? Does this happen every year? Has this happened to other players within the last week or two? So I guess just let us know, is this something where like the Pirates are alone in doing things like this?
Jim's paying attention to my tweets. I put that out for a reason. I compiled a list of, as I said, I moved into MLB entirety this season just to see if I could do it. And it's a lot of work. But I think the good answer is the same with Tellez. We don't know of maybe 50% if we're lucky of these incentives are reported. And even if they are, generally people aren't tracking them. So I've had a lot of fun tracking them. And yeah, as you said, who was it? John Brebbia, Carlos Carrasco, Craig Kimbrell, and Shelby Miller, all to different lengths and different. There's no such thing as apples to apples in most anything, but they were 4 scenarios in which, quite honestly, players who were mostly bad, maybe except Carlos Carrasco. I mean, he was a steady starter for Cleveland all year after signing a minor league deal, but who weren't performing and were let go very soon before they would have accrued another incentive. Now, a lot of them actually, maybe this is different from Tellez, had already achieved some marks. You know, this would have been akin to Rowdy hitting 425 and coming up short of 450 or 475, whatever the next one was. But so the answer, I think, is the Pirates hoped, I don't want to say hoped, because I'm not going to lie here. They would have known that I knew that that this wasn't going to be as big of a deal as it was. And it's just, I think that's just general operating procedure is just, we don't know when it happens and when it doesn't happen.
Well, and I said, because of you reporting this in December, we did know that it happened. And I guess you could say, yeah, the Orioles did it to Craig. I think Craig Kimbrell was 1 game away from hitting.
That was actually interesting. Someone responded to my tweet and said that he was in a game, but he blew a save and got taken out, and then cut. Now, of course, I wouldn't have known that, but that is at least interesting that because it was a game finished. His was games finished, and he came up 1 short before they. And then also, it was a buyout escalator. So the Orioles are going to owe him $600,000 more than what, because he hit a bunch of them, games and games finished, but it just was another 100 that he didn't get because he came up 1 short. So it's not uncommon. And I put out today that the Dan Le Batard show, it seems David Sampson was hosting, and I had heard him say this in the past, and love him or hate him, I think he's very truthful with how he talks from an executive point of view sometimes. And he claimed that he carried around a black folder with all this stuff in it. And it is general operating procedure to be sure that certain players do not hit these marks. Jim and I were talking before the show about just a couple scenarios, just even with the Pirates. You're talking, I haven't seen this come out recently, but does anyone remember in 2017 when Ivan Nova was 1 game short of a game started $1 million bonus?
Now that you mentioned that
vaguely sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And I can't remember that it was surrounding it, if it was known at the time or if it came out later. Because I can't remember when I would have seen that information or if it was public knowledge or that reminded me when Jim and I were talking. And there were a couple other situations that aren't incentive based, surrounding the Pirates, whether you want to touch on those or not. But I think all that kind of stuff is just why people are mad.
Yeah, but then you can also find examples of the opposite. Like if that was 2017 Ivan Nova, 2016 Ryan Vogelsong was the complete opposite, right? Like Vogelsong, I think, got $300,000 because he started game 162 in a season season that was over.
I have 700,000. He was
he's even correcting you live.
There you go. Like it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. The Pirates. What wasn't it $300,000 more though?
Without looking at, I have a $200,000 for 60 points. He had a point system. Sometimes it's like, okay, for every inning or every start worth 3 innings, you get a point or 2 points or whatever. And he accrued 60 points from the looks of it. Yeah.
So I think he accrued enough points to hit that, but then also I think there was another $100,000 one in there that he hit because of that.
And much like Tellez, and this is players typically, I would say, who are signing for less or coming back, or like Jurickson Profar is a good example. I mean, he bombed last year in Colorado, signed for like $8 million or something, signed for $1 million base with the Padres, and he just lit the world afire this season, and he's accrued every single one of his bonuses. I think he's earned an extra $1 million this year. So they're given to players who maybe are kind of, okay, well, prove it to us. And that's what kind of, Rowdy, much of the season didn't prove it. So, you can discuss whether he deserved to reach that or not. That's part of the discussion. But no, that's, last year, Ryan Barucki earned a couple, I'd have to look at what the number was, an extra 100,000, because he came in off a minor league deal and performed better than what would be expected. So as you said, the two sides of the coin, sometimes they aren't, and sometimes they are. But again, unless someone like me's pointing it out, we generally don't know.
So why do you think the Pirates got railed so hard with this specific instance?
History. This is like, and I was listening last night. As I said, I've been very busy trying to catch up with all this. I was sitting on my couch last night at 3 a.m. listening to Dan Zangrilli's pre and post game show, and he was kind of saying, why is this? Someone tell me why this is so important. Why you care so much about Rowdy Tellez and $200,000? And in my opinion, this is like, you guys have your significant others. Well, why didn't you unload the dishwasher? And you get so upset, but it's not about the dishwasher. It's about the 10 other little things that happened before then. And you you blow up over one thing that's kind of not as important. And
Bernardo knows about that.
I just love how you use an analogy. I get burned for that. Ethan.
Well, it's because mine's good.
Whatever.
It's Juan Nicasio on waivers. It's Garrett Cole in 2017 and that whole ordeal, which Travis Sawchik reminded me of today. I don't think I would have remembered that one. Last year? I have it written down. Yeah, last year, O'Neal Cruz gets renewed and he gets a $5,000 salary reduction as a penalty for renewing his contract. So it's not just one thing. It's the Athletic article. It's everything in there. It's 30 years of history, and that's is $200,000 to Rowdy Tellez, to a player who quite honestly probably didn't deserve that. It's everything else, just all boiling up into one.
Mm-hmm. It's also the timing of it. Like, you do that, and on September 1st, nobody cares. You do it 4 plate appearances short, people care.
I know I said I was trying not to give an opinion, and I'm still trying to stay measured, but it would have been completely justified to get rid of him in May, and they didn't, and they stuck with him. And to his credit, he turned it around. And maybe had he kept playing well, maybe this doesn't happen. Maybe he reaches the next, that earlier and reaches the next one. The fact that it was so quick, or so close to the end of the season, certainly doesn't look great. I am certainly not. One of the things I was very uncomfortable with is I put out the information as fact. You do with it as you will. Here's the information. And I kind of almost felt like it was weaponized. And, look at, and that was not 9 months ago. That wouldn't have been my intent. And I don't think it's fair, in my opinion, to say with a shadow of a doubt, this is what happened. I don't know. And I'm not going to say, I'm not even sure I have an opinion, because I'm just, I think I can see it both ways. And I find it interesting procedurally more than anything else.
Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, that's who you are, and this is what you do. And that's great. That's why you're a great resource. We're here to tell you why. That's what we're here for. But no, honestly though, too, like with what you're saying, I mean, obviously you can see both sides of it. That's why I don't think there's truly going to be a grievance, because, well, he wasn't performing well in September. And you can say, we want to call up the young kids. It was a baseball move. You can argue that. But like, I think you said before is my main thing. And it's something I've been talking about. I feel like every offseason, fans want to wonder and worry, and, the organization and such. It's like, you have the power to change your own narrative. This was another opportunity. They could have done it. They could have changed the narrative. You know what? We're player centric. We stuck with Rowdy. He stuck with this. He turned it around. And even though at the end of the day, the season still isn't good, you know what? For 3 months, he put up respectable numbers.
Would anyone have known?
I think that's what I would have to say. No one would have cared.
I would have tweeted it. I would have tweeted it, but it's not making the Pat McAfee show.
Your thing is, no one would have known. By doing what they do, by their MO, everyone's going to know. And like Ethan said, like, they know Ethan knows. They know that people know. And regardless, like, you did it again. So instead of just no press, no media attention, it's the negative side again. It's once again, look at the Pirates being cheap. They just get in their own way all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's all this is. Like Ethan, you said, you hit the nail on the head. It's history. Like, the Orioles aren't getting dragged for DFAing Craig Kimbrell 1 game finished away from an incentive, because the Orioles are winning right now. If the Pirates did this before going to the playoffs, and the reason was, you know what, we've got the postseason coming up, and we just can't afford Rowdy's bat on this roster. If that was the reason, everybody would be like, yeah, that makes sense. But that's not where the Pirates have put themselves. That's not the position the Pirates have put themselves into. So like I get that this is maybe piling on them for doing something that every other team does. But like they kind of made their bed here.
And sometimes I hate this saying, but I mean, kind of in this situation, let's just say Shelton was telling the truth and Charrington was telling the truth. But another thing, I find it crazy that I caused an impromptu press conference. Like really, really weird. But, maybe they were telling 100% the truth, but, perception is kind of reality almost in this situation. Like no matter, strap them up to a lie detector and they pass it, still no one's going to believe it, no matter, it's really hard to change someone's opinion whenever you have a long string of history saying otherwise.
Yeah, I think you said it right there. Like
things
perception does matter, and the optics and the PR does matter. And when you do it 4 plate appearances short of $200,000, you guys all said it. They made their bed. So here we are. This is why it's a story. And also it's a story because Ethan is the best tracker of payroll in probably like the world.
There you go.
Well, let's wait till December and see how I did with all 30 teams.
Ethan,
put that in your Twitter bio. Best tracker of payroll in the world.
I'm out of characters, I think, in that.
Ethan, if I can make you even more uncomfortable, I had my father text me about the Rowdy Tellez thing. I had multiple cousins text me, and yesterday I was sitting at the bar grabbing dinner, and somebody next to me said, "Hey, did you see that Rowdy Tellez thing about them getting rid of him 4 plate appearances short?" Like
we took our kids. We took our kids to a church thing, and I was talking to another dad, and I said, "So," because he knows I do this. And he said, did you happen to hear about Rowdy Tellez? He was like, "Oh yeah, I saw something on my phone." And I was like,
You're welcome.
And then my mother-in-law was texting my wife yesterday, and she's like, "What is going on today? Because my boss is telling me something." And I'm like, "Yeah, this is weird." And that's just part of the, like, it having such a niche hobby, and this happened a lot after the Post-Gazette article too, having to explain it to someone who doesn't understand is just, it's like teaching quantum physics to a toddler. Like it just doesn't, you can't do it. Well, yeah, and so it's just, I try to avoid it. And that's when this much shine, I'm ready for it to go away.
I hope you get all the shine in the world, Ethan.
Yep.
There it is.
Yeah, actually. And I said, it's nice to see, originally some people were stealing your work. You weren't getting attributed the credit for all this, and you deserve the credit for it. And it's good to see.
I will say, can I say
you've
one?
Gotten the credit pretty quickly.
The information was like a wildfire, and sometimes you can't stop information from spreading. And I say one person sees it on Facebook, another person sees it on USA Today, and I didn't realize so many different publications publish so many things. And so the information, okay, you get it from somewhere, whatever. Like to take a tweet, open it, copy, paste. That's very different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But no, it was it was kind of cool to see. Ben Verlander sucks, like Rowdy says here in the comments. But he also issued.
He said it, not me.
He also issued an apology. But no, good stuff. We're happy that that's it. If you didn't do this, no one would have known, and we wouldn't have had 29 minutes worth of stuff to talk about today.
I'm sorry it went a lot longer than 10. And come November, December, whenever I'm tweeting this stuff again, I'm going to have to be more prepared. Who's going to design me this watermark everyone's suggesting I do? I do not have any graphic design skills or the computer savvy to put it on.
Just cut out your face and just put it in a corner. There you go.
And then use Tyler's words as your little branding.
The best in the world.
Let's get
Ethan, I hope you never audit my taxes.
I did personal taxes one tax season. I'm never going back.
Well, I'm just hoping you never audit mine. I'll be owing a lot more money. All
right. Well, again, thanks so much. Yeah, like I said, Ethan, thanks for hopping on and talking about this with us. If you want to plug your socials, where they can find your work, all that good stuff.
At Ethan Hullihen, Hullihen, and sometimes I contribute at Bucks on Deck. Anthony Murphy and the crew, which everyone's familiar with here. Generally, I'm pretty quiet during the season writing, but with the off season upcoming, I am ready. I am primed and ready. I got spreadsheets ready to go, free agents all in the list, and PPI, the pre-arbitration bonus pool. I got it all ready to go. I'm ready for the off season over here. So I got 2,000 new followers. Let's get this started.
Let's go.
This is Ethan's season. It begins on October 1st.
And
The
if anyone
off-season
ever
is your Super Bowl. Yep.
this one or any other podcast listening, I am happy to come on and talk. I love to talk, especially about this stuff. So anyone wants to pick my brain, I am here. DMs, anything. I do not turn down questions. I happily welcome them, because as many questions I have asked over the years and people just told me no, I wouldn't be here with all this knowledge. So I am happy to spread the good word.
Good stuff.
And I can attest to that.
Thank you guys.
Nah,
Thanks a lot,
Ethan.
Ethan.
We appreciate you.
Sure thing. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Good stuff.
He's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's incredible, the resource that he is. I mean, we talk about payroll a lot on here. We talk about service time. It's just stuff that comes up when you're discussing a baseball team 365 days a year, basically. Knowing and being accurate with things like service time and the payroll and weird little roster rules that no one but Ethan knows. He's
right.
an excellent resource for all of us. So yeah, great stuff.
It's also very necessary. Like, if
yeah.
every franchise had a guy like Ethan, Major League Baseball would probably be better, because it's like the checks and balances. He provides resources to fans that you just don't have, other than like Cots looking at, opening day payrolls and end of year payrolls. Like,
yeah,
he gives you everything.
Yeah. And it's
first
way
time as
more
Pirates
accurate
fans.
it's way more accurate than those places too. Because like you said, it changes. Like when you trade Martin Perez, it affects the payroll. But if you go to Cots contracts or whatever, like it doesn't really reflect that stuff.
Right. Let's say it's like the first time as Pirates fans, you can say we're spoiled. Like we have Ethan. But and you're talking about the payrolls and numbers and stuff. I mean, even like options, like you brought, like you go on Fangraphs, you see someone has 3, and Ethan's like, no, it's actually 4. I'm like, well, Fangraphs says 3. He's like, it's 4, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
But right, like if you just look at Fangraphs like everyone else, you expect 3, and then what happens the next offseason? Oh, there's a 4th option. Cool.
Yep.
Ethan was right. Yeah, great resource, great guy as well. And yeah, just back to the Rowdy stuff, right? Like that was my whole thing on it. Again, like you just have the option to change the narrative. You can control your own narrative, and you decide to do the same thing. 4 plate appearances. Come on, guys. Come on. Either DFA him earlier in the month, like you should have, and we saw Billy Cook up here earlier, and Nick York up here earlier, as we should have, or let it play out. Give the man his $200,000. Don't do it 6 games left in the season. 4 plate appearances away. That's all.
Yeah, I think Jim and I were on the same page where this thing could go away if the Pirates just came out, leaked it to the press that we're going to pay him $200,000 and wipe your hands of it.
Right.
But also, like, you can't do it now. Like, it's
now
too
it's
late.
over.
Like,
Yeah,
it's done. This thing took a mind of its own, and it got spread like wildfire. And now it's you can't really do anything to save face now.
Yeah, they had like a 24-hour window, and that's gone.
Yeah.
Also, I never expected it to be this big. Let's put it that way. This blew up.
I think it's just one of those things where, hey, when you can take a nice, easy, cheap shot at Bob Nutting and the Pirates, fans just do it. Like, it's there. They're asking for it. That's all this is.
Yep.
Fully agree.
Well, what's next, guys?
Oh, you're the host.
Yeah. Well, we were going to talk about Mitch Keller.
Yeah.
We'd have another guest coming on like
Let's
5
do that.
minutes. And I don't think we have a 5-minute window. So let's talk and try to cram this in because we have Destin
Also,
coming
our
on.
next guest may be a little bit late. Like I said,
Oh.
he's yeah, but we're good. Yeah,
Perfect.
let's go ahead and go. Let's roll with Mitch Keller.
Yeah, let's talk about Mitchy Poo. So yeah, the second half of the season not going so well. I know last year he fell off a bit, and it was like I don't know how to take it. Right, then comes in this year, it's kind of struggling, and then he just hit this stride again. And it's like, you know what? Every starting pitcher has the rough patch, right? But you look over this last full calendar year, you look over since what was it, May 16th of 2022, whatever. Like he's been really, really good. So maybe just a rough patch to the end of last year. Who knows? Well, now we have like basically 2 years in a row where he ran out of steam. So what do we think about this?
I'll let Tyler go. I know he's got really really important thoughts on this.
I don't know about important.
Ginza.
Nothing I say is ever important, but I guess like you asked what we think about it, and then just in general, I think if you look back on the Mitch Keller season, I'd have a hard time not being a little bit disappointed. You finish the year with the 4.25 ERA, and that's fine. Like it's not great, but it's absolutely serviceable. But it's not what you expect out of Mitch Keller. And I think when I say disappointment, you see the upside of a Mitch Keller. You see how dominant he can truthfully be. And 2 years in a row where he's fallen off the way that he has, and especially this year where we've seen the velocity just completely tank late in the year. That part's a good bit concerning to me. And also you see I think it was 20 innings less than last year or so. The fatigue, the stamina, everything about it, it's definitely concerning. And I think just disappointment is the word I'd go back to on Mitch Keller. And I think Ryan said it today. Like you look at everything that's happened this year, it's a hard time, or you have a hard time not seeing Mitch Keller as one of the bigger disappointments of the year. Because I think you absolutely expect a lot more out of him. And you see the ERA minus plus, it's literally league average. He was a league average pitcher. You live with that. You signed him to a deal that's still team friendly. I think you want a lot better from Mitch Keller, or at least a little bit better. He wasn't good enough back-to-back years. He was average. You need more. You need more from Mitch Keller. Plain and simple. And you can't keep falling off the way he has, because when this team's competitive and Mitch Keller's ending the year with a 6.75 ERA in August and September, that's not ready to roll in the postseason. That's not going to do it for you. That's just kind of where I'm at with him. A little disappointment.
So I'm not here to make excuses for Mitch Keller. I think it's pretty easy to say he didn't end the season very strong. 6.75 ERA in 5 August starts, 6.97 ERA in 4 September starts. That's not including today, so it went down a little bit. But I think fans may have an unrealistic expectation of what major league starting pitchers do. Like just the average major league starting pitcher. Because when you call Mitch Keller average, you're wrong. Plain and simple. There's 30 teams out there, which means there's 35-man rotations, which means there's 150 people like currently sitting in major league rotations. All right. So just keep in mind that there's 150 major league starting pitchers right now. Mitch Keller ranks 60th in WAR among major league starting pitchers, 60th, right? So when you look at that, that is a low-end number 2 starter in Major League Baseball. Mitch Keller pitched 173 innings this year, which if you're a starting pitcher, that's a pretty valuable thing to do. Only only 38 pitchers in Major League Baseball pitched over 170 innings this season. It's not a lot. Like there are not very many pitchers that do what he does. And when you say like he's got an ERA plus of 100, that means his ERA is league average, right? His ERA is league average. It's not league average for a starter, because you also have to keep in mind that relief pitchers have lower ERAs. They don't pitch as many innings. They're not as valuable. So when you're talking about a starting pitcher with a league average earned run average who gives you 170 plus innings, what are you shaking your head at, Donardo?
League average starting pitcher is a 4.15 ERA this year.
Okay. So we're similar there. Okay. But ERA plus 100. He's league average at 173 innings. There's a lot of value to that. And I think when you say like Mitch Keller's not a number 2, Mitch Keller's not a number 3, he's number 4. No, he's not. He's not a number 4 starting pitcher, because in order for him to be a number 4 starting pitcher, it means he's not a top 90 starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. And that's wrong. Like he's clearly in that group, and he's on the low end of number 2s, in my opinion. Fangraphs has power rankings that they put out of starting pitchers. He's 51st this year in starting pitcher power rankings. So like everything that you look at says he's a low end number 2 starter to a high end number 3 starter. You just got to take a step back. It's a long season. Pitchers don't throw this many innings typically, and he does stuff that other people don't. If you want to go ahead and say like Bucko Brody here, very solid 3, low 2, high 3. Like that's where he's at. Now, was it disappointing? It was a disappointing end of the season, no doubt about it. But you're getting great value out of Mitch Keller. He does things most pitchers don't do, and we're lucky to have him on the team. Plain and simple.
So here's where I differ on that. And I've been a Mitch Keller guy, talking him up. He's better than I think a lot of the fans give him credit for. And I still do believe that, because I think there's a lot of fans that side more on that he's a number 4 starter. But I guess where I'm going with is, like, you make good points, Jim. I'm not trying to take that away. You know, you talk about he's 60th in WAR, that's a number 2. But I guess where I'm at is the WAR comes in also because of innings. There's a lot of guys that are better, but they got injured. So the WAR is going to be down this year because they only threw 100 innings, right? But they're vastly a better pitcher than Mitch Keller. And that's where the ERA comes in. Like, you look at his ERA. What's that?
So are you a better pitcher if you only pitch 100 innings? Like that's part of being a pitcher is throwing innings. That's part of it.
I'm not doubting that. And so that's why I say, like, too, like when you look, I mean, I was putting out there all of the biggest thing about Mitch Keller is he's consistent. He's an innings eater. We had a longest stretch of, 5+ innings per start. That's value. Like, you need those guys. And I think a lot of people dismiss that as value. A lot of people don't care about the innings eater. When we were talking about Kyle Gibson, this offseason, like, Kyle Gibson makes his money because he is not like Mitch Keller, but he's good enough, but he gets you innings. He's going to help out that bullpen. And that's probably this team needs this, this upcoming year and stuff, right? Lance Lynn's and whatnot. And Mitch Keller is, I think, falling more in line with the innings eater and not impactful pitcher, if that makes sense, which again is fine. But that's why I feel like I'm looking him more of like this number 3, if numbers matter, because that's another thing too. People put too much stock into numbers, right? But my worry is 2 years in a row, he has fallen off the second half. And it's not just numbers wise, it's velocity. He just doesn't look the same. And I guess where I'm coming through is Mitch Keller looks like what we were talking about, like with the Lance Lynn's and the Kyle Gibsons. He's the guy that's going to get you through the season. But I worry about the postseason. I worry, okay, now the game's on the line. Can Mitch Keller do it? You need guys to get you through the season, though. You definitely do. But I'm worried in 2025, it's October now. Which version of Mitch Keller are we going to get? That's all.
And that's a fair.
And-
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is if you're looking at the next postseason contending team, based on what we've seen the last 2 years, Mitch Keller down the stretch is not performing well. And I think there's a little, at least in my head, a little concern, like looking back at a Joe Musgrove, kind of similar type of situation where there's more in there, but the ERA is a lot higher than what maybe you see from him. And I know Joe Musgrove's kind of fallen off, but it just feels like there's more there. I think he should be a 3.5 ERA guy. I don't question that at all. And when you finish the year for like 4.25, back-to-back years, there should be more here.
And I think that's the other thing at this too. Like when you look at ERA, Cutter Crawford, Jake Irving, Mitch Keller. Like who do you think is the more talented pitcher of those three? To Tyler's point, Mitch Keller, I believe, is the more talented pitcher, but at the end of the year, he falls in line with those guys. So like to your point, I'm alluding here too. Yeah, like WAR and all that's good, but like when it comes for an impactful pitcher, he ends up being worse than I think the talent aligns to where he should be. Still worth the contract.
Yeah, I guess my argument is I think everyone's a little just skewed on what starting pitchers typically do in Major League Baseball. There's not too many starting pitchers out there who go out every fifth day and have an ERA under 4. There's just not. There's not a lot of those guys.
Yeah, we're going to chat about this a lot in the offseason.
Yeah, we are.
There's a lot to get into. There's a lot of deep dive to do with Mitch Keller, and we'll do that all offseason.
Yeah, so part 1 of 72.
Yeah.
So I guess let's go forward. We do have our next guest up on. Let's bring up Andrew Destin from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, making his NS9 debut. Andrew, what's up?
How we doing, guys? You guys are probably doing a little bit better than I am right now, but it's really appreciate you guys making the time to have me on. It's certainly been an emotional day for sure. No question about it back here.
Yeah, for sure. So many probably have no idea, right? You're on the show because growing up Oakland fan. And where were you today?
Was at the Coliseum today and had been at the Coliseum the last 2 days too. Right after the Pirates Red series in Cincinnati, I caught a flight out that night back to the Bay Area, stayed here at my parents' house and went to all 3 games, covered a couple of them and talked to various players, wrote some stories, talked to Kevin McClatchy for a piece. And then today I told myself that I'm just going to go to this game with my childhood best friend and my brother, and I'm going to sit in the stands and just enjoy that because I did that a million times as a kid. So that was just that was a day. That was certainly a day, and it's been a week for sure. It's been a tough one to stay with.
So that's the Andrew Destin childhood room I'm seeing then, right?
You would be seeing correct. Yeah,
I see Kobe. I see UCLA Bruins. All right.
Yeah, all sorts of free posters from cousins and family members and friends. But yeah, it's all Bay Area themed and a little bit of Penn State stuff up there just from college and my parents growing there and all that. But yeah, I'm back in the childhood bedroom for roughly 2 more hours, and then I fly out to New York tonight on a red-eye flight. So all sorts of fun today.
Yeah, so like I said, thanks for hopping on here. I mean, whirlwind of a day, of a week for you, I'm sure. I guess we can. I want to talk about the A's situation kind of just as a whole, but also I want to hit on just kind of how today was. But I guess for those of us who maybe aren't as close to the situation, they're on the West Coast. Things happen when we're already sleeping out there. So like it's hard to pay attention to what's going on in Oakland all the time. I guess, can you give us in like just a few minutes, sure, how did we get to this point?
Wow, that's a heck of a question, Jim. The easiest way to put it is that ownership, ever since John Fisher became majority owner of the A's, it's just been an ongoing struggle between himself and the city of Oakland to come to any sort of agreement to build a new stadium, and all sorts of ventures that went nowhere, whether that was building a waterfront ballpark that they never got approval for, or not willing to make concessions for things like low-income housing that A's ownership was not huge on providing. There was a Rooted in Oakland movement, a slogan that was put on banners and spread throughout the city and the surrounding area that never came to fruition, that ended up being a farce in the only way that I can put it. But the way that we got to this juncture was eventually it was deemed by Major League Baseball and A's ownership that the Coliseum, after 50 some odd years of being a property of Major League Baseball, was no longer suitable for baseball. And eventually A's ownership said, well, we have every intention to go to Las Vegas. They secured some degree of funding there, which is a whole nother can of worms to open because there is no guarantee of funding there. They still need a heck of a lot of money from private investors. But in the interim, because the city of Oakland said, well, if the A's are going to stay in Oakland, then we're going to increase the price of rent for a lease at the Coliseum site. The A's deemed that to be too expensive. And the owner of the Kings, Vivek Ranadive, who is based in Sacramento, he offered up the site of the Sacramento River Cats, the Giants AAA facility, for free, no rent, and said the A's could stay there as long as they need. Call it a de facto audition for the city of Sacramento to try and be a major league franchise in the interim before the A's theoretically move to Las Vegas, which I certainly have doubts about. But essentially the reason we got to today was because the city of Oakland and the A's could never come to an agreement on building a stadium in Oakland, let alone the Bay Area. And before moving to Las Vegas, they decided that a 12,000 seat minor league facility in Sacramento to be shared with a minor league team was a better spot for the team to play than to be in Oakland for the next 3 seasons.
Well, that
Crazy.
summed it up.
Yeah.
Hey, that was a hell of a job there. You know, I gave you a few minutes. You did good.
I'm a little bit well versed on this. I'm not going to lie. I've discussed it or written about it many times and had all sorts of fun conversations over the years.
That was like the living, breathing version of Chat GPT.
Yeah. So I mean, I watched parts of today's game, watched the ending, watched the speech at the end, the little bit of the post game show. I guess what was the feeling like in the stands? Was it kind of enthusiasm just for kind of getting together one more time? Was it anger? Was it sadness? Was it all of the above? Like kind of just walk us through the day a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was in all of the above for sure. I would say that up until the 7th inning, it was a celebration of life. And then the last 2 innings, it was a cross hybrid between that and a funeral, where the first 7 innings, it was joyous. It was, you guys know this. I mean, the wave started in Oakland, or at least Crazy George, one of the big A's supporters, he claims to have started the wave there. So when it was happening, the fans were getting into it. It was a beautiful day that got me all sorts of sunburn. But it was, gorgeous day. Everyone was thrilled to be there. Packed house, public transit, parking lot was completely full, everything. And then once you got to the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, it kind of dawned on fans that, we're nearing the end. This is getting close. And so those "Let's Go Oakland" chants that have always sent goosebumps down my spine and the spines of thousands of others, they started to chant into the expletive-filled ones for John Fisher. And then it kind of alternated between the two because, based on syncopation, you can kind of make them sound the same. But so it was kind of alternating between that. And then you had the hijinks on the field when Mason Miller was pitching, where people were throwing the smoke bombs on the field, and you had the streakers and all that sort of stuff. But once the game ended, as it started to get close to the end, the last inning, once Mason Miller induced the ground out and the fans really started to realize, okay, this is done. And our expectation as people who were in attendance was that the fans and Mark Kotze, were all going to head off the field, because that was what we had been told, is that Major League Baseball was concerned about their safety, that they were not going to have them hang on the field. So when the players stayed on for a good while, and then Mark Kotze got the microphone to give a speech and address the crowd, you could hear a pin drop. That was just a surreal moment of pure emotion. Kotze trying his best to keep it together, fans trying their best to keep it together, and then the salute from the players to the crowd. Me personally, what kind of went through my mind was just, this didn't have to happen. It never had to come to this point. And it's And it's kind of crazy for me because I'm, a few years removed from considering myself a true fan of just sport in general, like just in covering this, the Pirates and the Penguins, and years before that with Penn State football and going to school for this. So I recognize that I don't have the same affinity for teams as I used to when I was a kid or a teenager, things like that. But the A's is such a special thing to me because that's like that stadium is kind of where I grew up and where I got to have a keen understanding of baseball and sabermetrics. And it was fun to me when I was in middle school and Moneyball, the movie, came out, and I'd read the book because my grandfather had given me a copy of the book when I was really young. And to see it kind of flash forward to today, the emotional moments of today, it was just surreal. It was a celebration of life, a funeral, all kind of entrapped in one.
Damn. Did you get any dirt?
I did. Yeah, I did.
I thought that was really cool too. I mean, just seeing like players with the shovel and just giving fans dirt and stuff. I was like, damn. That's what like hit me. I was like, oh wow, this is something.
Yeah, I'd gotten dirt also when the Pirates played the A's at the end of April, beginning of May. I made a point of grabbing a little, and it's funny actually. So I took Bay Area Rapid Transit. It's the train in the Bay Area. I took that back with my brother and my buddy, and a guy was on the train with a popcorn bucket filled with dirt. And he turns to me and he's like, "Do you want some?" I was like, "Well, I already have some from a game I covered back at the end of April, early May." He's like, "Yeah, but that dirt's not from the last game." So I handed over a plastic water bottle. He filled it up on the train from the popcorn bucket. It was genuinely like just hilarious, funny, moving, whatever you want to call it. It was just but I do have some dirt. I can say that I have dirt from the final game played there. And I did not take a seat, though. Somebody in my row did bring a screwdriver and take his seat home with him.
So
I remember, I specifically remember that happening at Pitt Stadium. I remember people taking stuff home. That's like the only time I can remember being at like the end of a stadium, and that was completely different because they were just moving to a different stadium. But yeah, go ahead, Tyler. You were going to say something.
No, it's something I've always been curious about. It might be a dumb question, but we've obviously never experienced our teams moving. The Penguins came relatively close to going to Kansas City at one point. Do you get a feeling from other A's fans that maybe they're going to just wash their hands of baseball in general, or are they going to jump to another team? What's the feel of A's fans in general?
I would say the feeling of A's fans in general is that this is kind of it. And it's an interesting conversation because I consider myself grateful. I'm such a big fan of baseball and grew up playing so much baseball that I was always a fan of both the Giants and the A's, which is a rare thing for people who grow up in cities that are two baseball team towns like a Chicago or New York or even LA to a lesser degree. Like in the Bay Area, it's always been, in my opinion, such a championing of both teams for their existence because they're so different. Because they appeal to so many different people that for me, it's always been, okay, well, these two teams are ones that I adore. And so I say that to say that I'm fortunate that I will continue to, go to Giants games with my dad and my brother and family and friends whenever I come back home for visits and moving forward the rest of my life. But I know for a lot of A's fans that grew up in that area, specifically in Oakland, specifically in the East Bay, like that was their only team. And to know that the Giants played a part in the A's not being able to secure a stadium in the Bay Area, that the ownership group was part of the 30-0 vote that approved the move of the team to Las Vegas. A, that certainly shuts them off from the Giants. And I think B, that shuts them off from Major League Baseball in general, because the facts of this situation is that every single other owner in MLB was complicit in allowing this to happen. There were efforts that could have been made to stop this, to prevent John Fisher from moving the team, at the very least to prevent him from moving the team out of the Bay Area in general, or to force his hand and bring other ownership in. Like that could have been done. It's a little bit unprecedented at the major league level since Marge shot with the Reds, but it's been done before for myriad reasons. So that's a long way of saying that I think with A's fans that I do believe that a lot of them, this is it. I would be shocked if they continue to be Major League Baseball fans. I don't think it's as simple as saying they'll just switch their allegiance to being Giants fans. And I think that's really the sad part of this too, is because it appealed to such a different group of people. It really is the way that like Mets and Yankees fans are different and White Sox and Cubs fans are different. The A's dynamic is kind of like that too, where it's the blue collar, the hardworking, the underdog story. And that's what always appealed me to the team, is because it was that us against the world mentality. And I've always been so prideful of where I grew up. So to see it no longer be that moving forward is a tough thing to grapple with.
I think where it like hits me the most is, we're all baseball fans. We're all fans of the Pirates, but like when a team's been around that long, A's were in Oakland for 57 years. They won 5 World Series titles, I want to say.
4.
That 4? Okay, 4 World Series titles. Like they're not just a sports team that you go and watch to have fun, right? They are ingrained in the community, not only just for the people who are living there in the present, but the people who have been there in the past, and they expect to pass that along to the people in the future. Like it really is. There's not too many things nowadays where like an entire community of people can just get together and have like one common goal. It's just the world in general is so polarizing, but when you can get an entire community together, it's special. And I think that's what makes sports teams so unique from just like a lot of other forms of entertainment is, it's something that's passed down from generation to generation. Like I'm just thinking of myself, like growing up, like baseball was something that I could enjoy with my dad. Even today, like my dad and I don't agree on a lot of things. We argue when we get together, a lot.
I like your dad.
But the one thing that like we can just talk about forever and have like a really good conversation about is baseball. And it's something where it binds families together, it binds communities together, it binds people of different socioeconomic backgrounds together. Like it's just like it's so important to just the fabric of a community, and to just strip that away from an entire metro of people, all because of greed, straight up greed. It's sad. Like it's sad that the people of that area just no longer have that thing to kind of have a common bond with.
Yeah. And I think too, when you couple that with the reality of what's taken place in Oakland over the last 5-6 years, right? I mean, I grew up a Bay Area sports fan, but I'd be lying if I were to tell anybody that I grew up a Raiders fan. I never went to a Raiders game in my life, but the Raiders left 4 years ago. The Warriors 5 years ago moved across the Bay, and admittedly, people still can go to those games if they live in the East Bay, but it's not quite the same. It's not in the same area. Moving them is the same as moving a team like the Steelers to Wexford relative to having them downtown. It would still be that area's team, but it's not the same. I say all that to say that with Oakland, it's a really sad thing because the city's in a tough spot in terms of within less than a decade going from 3 professional sports teams to 0. And I think the hard part of it to swallow too is it's one thing to lose the Raiders to Las Vegas, but to lose 2 teams theoretically to Las Vegas and make it so that baseball team will now become the destination for, a Yankees fan bachelor party trip to Las Vegas that you can see your team play against the A's. That's a tough pill for, I think, a lot of people to swallow. Is that it'd be one thing if they were moving to Sacramento full time, and maybe that's what happens. And if that's how it is, it's not the Bay Area, but I would at least be happy for Sacramento because that's an area that, loves baseball, and they'd be dying to support another professional sports team. And it's a similar market size to Pittsburgh and all those sorts of things that I'd look at and say, okay, well, good for the city of Sacramento. But the Oakland thing, my heart goes out to the city. I've never lived in Oakland, but I've been there so many times throughout my life for youth sporting events, going to games, concerts, the list goes on. And that's tough for me to swallow. It's just the idea of that city no longer having the one that has stayed true to it the most. The Raiders left for 14 years. The Warriors never wanted to be there. They always wanted to be in San Francisco. But the A's, in theory, for 57 years, were Oakland's team. And now that couldn't be further from the truth.
So to shift gears, I think Pirates fans it's always in the back of their mind that something like this could happen to them. There are some parallels. You've got an owner who doesn't necessarily invest a whole lot of resources and money into the team. There are times where you almost think that the team's being sabotaged because of how bad they get sometimes. I think if there is a non-parallel, it's that PNC Park exists, and I think as long as PNC Park doesn't get dilapidated and worn down, like I don't think the Pirates are going anywhere. I think that's at least my opinion. And I think the Athletics have been in Oakland for a long time, 57 years, but the Pirates have been in Pittsburgh for like 150 years. It's a little different, but I think all Pirates fans have it in the back of their mind that like this could be us next. This could be us next. What are your, I guess, just from experiencing it firsthand now, and you've been covering the Pirates now for a little bit. What are the parallels, the similarities? What are the things that are going to keep the Pirates from not doing this? What are the things that could actually happen to make the Pirates be the next team that this happens to?
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point, Jim, about the stadium, because of PNC Park, and anybody who would like to give it a read on post-gazette.com, I had a great sit down with Kevin McClatchy for a solid 15-20 minutes where we talked about some of these parallels, similarities, and differences. And he brought up how with PNC Park, which he certainly takes a lot of pride in, and his ownership wasn't a great run in terms of wins and losses, but did secure the Pirates' future at least until 2030 with PNC Park's creation. It's anything but dilapidated, right? This is a park that has stood the test of time for now. It remains regarded as one of the best in baseball. And even when the Pirates, success wanes, attendance-wise, they still do all right. And they still have enough corporate sponsors in the city of Pittsburgh for luxury boxes, things of that nature. Nutting has other revenue streams that, albeit in terms of ownership, there are some similarities there between John Fisher and Bob Nutting. There certainly are. But I think in terms of Pirates fans' concerns about the team leaving, I think those can certainly be tabled for a while for a lot of the reasons you mentioned, Jim. But in terms of similarities, yeah, I mean, in terms of spending, right? Free agent signings. The A's certainly have been lower on the payroll than the Pirates, but it's not by a whole lot. In terms of market size, yeah, the Bay Area is bigger even if you divide it in half, but the Giants do dominate in terms of payroll, attendance, stadium, fandom, all those sorts of things. So the reality is that with the A's, that was very similar in terms of market size, total actual fans in the area relative to the Pirates. So I think there's not any reason to have concern as a Pirates fan, but have to have that understanding of if the success doesn't come at a more consistent clip in the future, moving forward the next several decades, that could become a reality very far down the line. But I think we're pretty far ahead of those conversations, at least for now, just given A, how solid of a stadium PNC Park is, and B, that the attendance has been on the whole solid. On the whole, it's been good enough that you don't really need to have those concerns. They're not averaging 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 fans a game the way that it was at Three Rivers Stadium for a while, or frankly, the Coliseum the last few years.
Yep. I tend to agree with that.
Yeah, that should put a lot of people at ease. You always hear the people too of like, how can you support Bob Nutting? Don't show up to the stadium and this and that. And I guess what I say to that, and that's what like this watching, the last 3 games, especially today with Oakland and such, and like talking to the fans and seeing the fans too. This is also one thing why I'll never blame fans or never attack fans of like who should go, who shouldn't go, because I'm probably the most detached fan of the 3 of us here, like in sports in general, I think of the 3 of us. But like, I fully understand, like there's so much emotion. There's so many reasons for people to love a team like the Pirates who haven't shown any reason to love them. But, just growing up, like I went to games with my grandfather every summer and the Pirates remind me of that. And for that, I'll always love the Pirates. And I'm always going to go to games because it reminds me of my grandfather, stuff like that. And that's why like, I'll never, ever tell someone don't go to a baseball game. But I think the other side of that is saying like Oakland kind of showed it doesn't matter if you show up. They'll do what they want and they'll end up leading potentially if that's the case. So yeah, like there's a lot to unpack with this, but I'm with you. And I think a lot of Pirates fans, even though deep down we can say and laugh about it, but I think they're pretty safe right now as far as staying in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's certainly the right way to look at it. It's a tough situation out here for sure, but with the Pirates situation, it's you would much prefer to be a team in terms of like security, right? You look at the franchise across Major League Baseball that you have zero concerns about leaving. It's a relatively short list in terms of the Yankees, the Cubs, the Red Sox, the Giants, the Dodgers. Like, and outside of that, for the most part, there's a good argument that could be made for a number of teams of saying, hey, well, it's not impossible they could leave. I mean, look at the Milwaukee Brewers, right? They got their stadium roughly 30 years ago, and they're complaining about roof issues and things of that nature and wanting to move on from there. There's discussions about the Royals, despite them being there 50 years, and Kauffman Stadium still kind of standing up, that they theoretically could move. So I think the Pirates are in a much better situation than a lot of teams. But the reality is that unless you're one of those bellwether franchises, there's always kind of that cold shoulder, that something creeping down your neck of, well, what if the attendance doesn't get better? What if the on-field product doesn't get better? All those myriad issues. But I think for Pirates fans, for the time being, can table those concerns, I think.
And I want to actually present you another question with that too. Just maybe your opinion, obviously, on it, because I think Manfred had a big play in Oakland. I think, as you also kind of mentioned here, do you think he would have that same motivation with Pittsburgh? And I say this because, like, that's also the city Clemente's from and played for. Well, I should say from, but played for. Like, this is, it's very historical in that sense too. Not saying like Oakland's not, but like, again, to Jim's point, it's been here for a lot longer, a lot more history, I feel like, in that sense. Do you think Manfred would also prevent that more than he did with Oakland?
I think so. And part of the Oakland portion here too is that I think it's worth noting that there were efforts in place, right? I mean, the ownership, the A's ownership, you can certainly question to what degree they actually tried, but it wasn't for lack of time. Like, there was plenty of time put in place here. What it came down to with Manfred, at least in my personal opinion, is at the end of the day, he just got frustrated and said, let's get rid of this problem. He was sick of dealing with the city of Oakland, with their elected officials, with Mayor Sheng Tao, who is potentially facing a recall here in the city of Oakland. I think it just got to the point with Commissioner Manfred where, frankly, he said enough is enough. And there is, to your point, there's not those ties to the city that there are with a city like Pittsburgh with the Pirates. Or, I'll bring up another one like the Reds, for instance, before they ended up getting Great American Ballpark and we're at Riverfront. That's comparable in terms of city size and legacy. Very different franchises for sure. But I just bring that up to say that with Manfred, with Oakland, it got to the point of, hey, like, I'm sick of working with the city. The ties aren't permanent. This franchise has already been known as kind of being a transient one, with starting in Philadelphia and then going to Kansas City and then going to Oakland, that there isn't quite the same degree of ties there that you would be upsetting baseball history that, in my opinion, you certainly would be with the Pirates. Like, that would be such a face on the longevity of the game, these original franchises that are, you can't, I always say this, you can't tell the story of baseball without the Pirates, right? Like, that's not possible. You can't tell it without the A's, but the history of the A's is kind of constantly moving, or at the very least having some degree of moving. They don't want that to be the story of some of their, really revered franchises. And while maybe the last several decades haven't been as much of a feather in the cap for the Pirates, just in terms of on-field success, different ownership groups, etc., on the whole, it's still a franchise that Major League Baseball is prideful of and proud to have in the city of Pittsburgh, I think.
Well, we'll let you get back to your family, Andrew. we appreciate you coming on. I know it's been a crazy emotional day for you. So have a safe trip to New York, and we appreciate you hopping on here.
Pleasure was mine, guys. It was therapeutic as much as today was at the Coliseum and the last few days were. So great catching up with you guys, and appreciate the time as always. Thanks, guys.
Same. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Man,
That was good.
That was good.
rough.
I found myself just like sitting back listening, like I was listening to someone else's podcast.
Well, I think like where it hit me today is I saw a video on Twitter, and it was just of a fan, and he was talking about how, like when he was a kid, his dad, he was like, he didn't know what to do with me. So we went to Oakland A's games. And then he was like, and then when I grew up, I had a younger brother and I didn't know what to do with him. So I took him to Oakland A's games. And he's like, and then I grew up even more and I had a kid. And he's like, but I knew what to do. I knew to take him to Oakland A's games. And it's just like, this isn't just entertainment. Like, this is it's a staple. Like it's a community staple that it's just it's a terrible situation for all involved. And we've kind of joked about the Pirates leaving. I don't think we've ever really gotten into serious discussions of it because I don't think it's something that's going to happen anytime soon. But it's just one of those things that's like in the back of your mind where like, what if, like, if that were to happen, like you asked a good question where it's like, what's next for Oakland A's fans? Like I'm in the same boat. Like I think if the Pirates moved, I would just be like, yeah, I think I might just be done with baseball. They may have just killed my joy if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I thought back to when the Penguins were reportedly or in talks with Kansas City, and I would have never watched hockey again. I love baseball a lot more than hockey, but I'd have a hard time continuing to watch Major League Baseball at that point.
Well, not good for NS9. But then again, NS9 would make no sense at that point in time because I don't think there's a North Shore in Nashville. So
you can probably, yeah, they got one river in Nashville. There's probably a North Shore of it somewhere.
But yeah, I don't know. And actually, you know what? Parliament Films posted something here not too long ago. I don't know if you can relate to this, and I don't want to make this like about me and such of that sense. But like growing up, I was a Seattle Sonics fan. Part of it was I was getting less and less into pro basketball. So like that's also why I don't want to like stamp that. But you know, when they moved to Oklahoma City, I didn't follow. That more or less was, and I guess maybe this is more to the average or casual fan. I would have called myself a casual fan back then. Growing up, I love the Sonics. But you know, I was getting a little more distant. I was follow the Sonics. When they moved there, I said, I guess I'm done. That's when I went full-time Pitt fan, watching Pitt basketball until that kind of escaped me as well. But yeah, like I kind of resonated with that. I was like, you know what? I was the Sonics fan when they moved. I don't really follow NBA at all. So
yeah.
I don't with the Pirates. I don't know what I would do at that point in time.
I'd go scorch freaking earth.
I mean, definitely I follow baseball well more than I did do any other sport at this point in time. Still be a fan of the game for sure. But yeah, it'd be weird.
Yeah, what are the stages of grief or whatever? I think 5 stages of grief. One of them is anger. I think I'd be in that anger stage for a really long time.
Jim, I can tell you I would never get to that acceptance stage.
Yeah, it would be. I'd be stuck. You know, you had the denial, the anger piece. That would be my biggest hurdle.
Yeah. I think that's like number 2. I'd be there forever.
I want to see the denial one though. I want to see Jim hopping on here one day and like having a show like, no, that didn't happen. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates.
There's still time to save them, you guys.
Right. NS9 will continue because Jim's is going to deny it. No, it didn't happen. The Pittsburgh Pirates lost today 7-2 to the Cincinnati Reds. Post-game show sponsored by Permani Brothers, not whatever Nashville's big sandwich shop is.
But yeah, I mean, but it's just a bad day. Bad day for the people of Oakland. You know, I feel for them. I would not want to experience what they're experiencing. I literally couldn't even imagine it. I couldn't imagine it. Like I do a Pirates podcast. You guys see me and listen to what I have to say multiple times a week. Like this is like I'm not saying the Pirates are my personality or like who I am, but like if the Pirates were to just go away, a part of my life would be missing. I mean that's how it would go.
No, it's my personality. I work
and actually
watch the Pirates.
Yeah, this is my personality too. My God, I go hang out with people and they're just like,
I literally go on vacation to watch the Pirates.
I can't believe you're still watching this team.
Take one vacation a year, and it's to watch the Pirates play exhibition baseball games.
That's true. Who are we kidding?
I make the argument that this isn't your personality. This fuels your personality, though.
It does. That's a good point.
Your personality is you hate taking days off. So
Yep.
you're only doing it because you're miserable and you're going to watch the Pirates. That's my argument.
Yeah, and
The
instead,
Pirates is
I would just have
lifting
a
onto your
rampage against
personality.
Rob Manfred forever.
There you go. Well, anyways, guys, hour 20. Good stuff between Ethan and Andrew.
I'll say that was a fun
got-
episode.
yeah.
I like how we brought on guests, but for shorter stints, got to tackle different topics. So
Yep.
A lot of good
this
information.
is our first time kind of doing this format. I liked it.
It was good stuff. But we have 3 games left till the Pirate season's also officially over. So 3 more post games, 3 more games, season's over, off-season mode for all of us. Again, like not emotional A's fans by any means, but like it's also a little bittersweet. The season's over. I like and enjoy baseball, but I also enjoy the off-season.
This officially wraps up my regular season in general. I'm done.
Pirates need to take 2 out of 3 this weekend.
We're
to
done.
tie
Oh.
last week's win total. I mean, last year's win total. Do they do it? Real quick. Do they tie last year's win total?
No.
You're both saying no?
No.
I think they get swept.
I'm here to tell you the Pirates are going to win 2 out of 3 this weekend.
Go ahead. Lie to us. Lie to us, Jim Rosati. Lie to us.
Pirates are going to win 2 out of 3 this weekend. And they're going to go 76 and 86 for the second year in a row.
They're not. So there's that. But let's get out of here.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, before we do, let's kind of talk a little bit because we have a bunch of stuff coming up. Because again, the offseason is going to start Monday. And
Before we go, let's talk a little bit.
no, I want to bring up some stuff.
That's the classic
So-
Denarder right there.
So listen, October 16th, we have the Fanboys coming up. So on Monday, because that's going to be the very first day of the off season, we will have the nominations out there on Twitter, so you guys can nominate for your categories. Then what we also have coming up is the very following Friday, The Point.
What's the point?
Well, that didn't come out to size, but the point is a reimagined show. It's something that we did. Basically, I did. Cody and I both co-hosted about 4 years ago for the Pod Hub Network, but we're bringing it back to North Shore 9 Pirate style. So what we're going to have is a NS9 member, some member of beat writer, the media community, and like a Pirates content creator community as well. Next week, we haven't decided with us. I don't know who's going to be on next week amongst us. I'll be hosting it. Think of it around the horn style type of show. And next week, it's going to be one of us. We got the 2 members of Bucko Banner that's going to be on. And we have Noah Howes as the beat writer. So the 3 of them and one of us-ish, as we do, will be on next Friday for The Point. So we
should let Neil go on and then just make the whole episode about Shelton.
I might.
We should just invite Paul to be on too.
Although by next Friday, we should know. I mean, Shelton will probably be either gone or still here.
Maybe.
One of the two. He'll either be gone or still here, you guys.
That's the Jim Analytics.
That's a good point.
That's the point.
There you go. You know what else we got coming up, guys? Another new show. Jim,
What
why don't you
else?
talk about this one?
Oh, the sickos sound off. You know how I call all you guys sickos for watching us, when the Pirates are 74 and 85. We're going to have our first ever call-in show style type thing. So you, the viewers and listeners, are going to have the opportunity to come on and join us. And you can talk about whatever you want. Yeah, it's gonna be kind of fun. Just a short every other week thing. That'll be done through our Discord. So if you want to be on that show, make sure you join the Discord. The link is in the description. But yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty excited about that. We're gonna have our own fan call-in show. Should be exciting.
Hopefully. I'm nervous.
We'll see. Hopefully we don't have
And
to
then,
cut the stream early. That's my only hope.
right. And then not last but not least, the other show that's going to come up this year, something we've done before in the past as well, when COVID happened, was our very first game show we introduced. NS9 Jeopardy will be back. So we have the point, right, as a game show. NS9 Jeopardy returns, and that's where you, as the fans, can also be on and partake. I don't need to really kind of describe the show. It's Jeopardy Pirate style. But like we did before in the past, we'll have a panel of 3 guests also to be included by the Discord. So get in our Discord if you want to be part of this as well. That way we can pick the 3 guests to come on. And yeah, Ryan will host that. I'll produce it. Ryan will be the host of that show. We'll do that once a month, is the way it looks like right now. So that one, we're not sure what the date's going to be, but the point and the Sicko Sound Off will alternate every other Friday.
We have a Jeopardy winner among us.
So
Who
if Tyler
knows?
can do it, guys,
Who knows? Maybe you win Jeopardy and you might be an NS9 host. That's the only qualification, is you just have to win Jeopardy at one point.
Just throw it, guys. Don't win. You're stuck watching them 162 times a year and talking about them.
there it is. So yeah, so fun stuff. So a little preview of what's coming up for this offseason, amongst more, of course, because that's what we do. We're sickos. So we out of here, guys.
Yeah, like the video, subscribe to the page if you haven't. Oh, and check out, I did an Arizona Fall League video. It is on the YouTube page right now. It's only like 6 minutes long. Check it out. It's my first try really doing like a video essay type thing. So watch it and tell me how bad I messed up.
He did good.
I think I did all right though, yeah.
All right. Then let's definitely get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow with the post-game show. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Cyber Scouts.
See you guys.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.